press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello students, welcome back to the video classes. In the previous class, we discussed about the reasons for why the organic compounds are more in number compared to that of inorganic compounds. And in the previous class, we discussed about the tetravalency of the carbon. Means carbon forms 4 covalent bonds. So carbon forms 4 covalent bonds because its valency is 4. It is tetravalent. Now today let us move on to part 4 in organic chemistry. Some basic principles and techniques. Some basic principles and techniques of part 4. Now, I said the carbon forms 4 sigma bonds. Sigma bonds are of 2 types. 4 covalent bonds. 4 covalent bonds. Carbon forms 4 covalent bonds. And the covalent bonds are of 2 types. One is sigma bond and second one is pi bond. One is sigma bond, another one is pi bond. Okay. There are 2 types of covalent bonds. So carbon can form 4 sigma bonds or it can form 4 sigma bonds with other atoms, and it forms only 1 sigma bond with other carbon atom. And with other carbon, it can form 1 pi bond or the 2 pi bonds. Is that clear? So, between carbon and carbon, only 1 sigma bond formation is possible. Between carbon and carbon, 1 pi bond and 1 sigma bond, or 2 pi bonds and 1 sigma bond is possible. So, between carbon atoms, 1 sigma bond. So, only 1 sigma bond formation takes place between 2 carbon atoms, and pi bonds may be 1 or 2. Now the question, why carbon forms covalent bonds? So, the reason for that is, the reason why the carbon forms covalent bonds, so that is, one reason is ionization enthalpy. Ionization enthalpy of carbon. You can also call it as ionization potential, and it is abbreviated as IE, ionization enthalpy. Second reason is electronegativity of carbon. So, what is the ionization enthalpy of carbon? The value of ionization enthalpy of carbon is 1085 kilojoules per mole. This is the ionization enthalpy of carbon, and electronegativity of the carbon is 2.5. Electronegativity value does not have any unit, but ionization enthalpy is always represented by using the unit called kilojoules per mole. What is ionization enthalpy? Amount of energy which is required to remove an electron from the outermost shell of isolated gaseous atom. Now we have to take isolated gaseous carbon atom, So this is outermost shell and here we have electron. This is the outermost shell of carbon, let it be, and this is the isolated gaseous carbon atom, and electron is present in the outermost shell of a carbon. So if we remove this electron from the outermost shell, it demands an energy because removal of electron from the outermost shell of isolated gaseous atom is endothermic reaction. Endothermic reaction means it absorbs energy. Now, the amount of energy which is required to remove an electron from the outermost shell of isolated gaseous atom is called ionization enthalpy. Means to remove one electron from the outermost shell of isolated gaseous atom, it demands 1085 kilojoules per mole, and this value is very high. Ionization enthalpy of carbon is very high. And what do you mean by electronegativity of carbon? As we know that these are the periodic properties of elements. Ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, electronegativity. So atomic radius, all these are the periodic properties of elements. Okay. Now what do you mean by electronegativity of carbon? The ability or the capacity of an atom to attract the bonded pair of electron towards itself. So that itself is called electronegativity of the carbon. So electronegativity of the carbon is 2.5. So this is also low value. So this is not highly electronegative. It has a less capacity to attract the bonded pair of electrons. But for ionic bond formation, what is the condition for ionic bond formation? Atom either it has to give cation after the removal of electron, or the atom of an element has to give anion after adding the electron. Means the ionic bond formation takes place by the transfer of the electron from the outermost shell of one atom to the outermost shell of another atom. So it means to say, for transfer of an electron from the outermost shell of one atom to outermost shell of another atom, so the three periodic properties are important. One is ionization enthalpy, second one is electronegativity, and third one is electron gain enthalpy. So, to explain the ionic bond formation on the basis of electron transfer theory, we need to explain the three periodic properties here. So first one is ionization enthalpy, where we have two atoms, one is electropositive, another one is electronegative. Ionization enthalpy of an atom which can lose electron or which can form cation, respective cation, must have ionization value very low. So ionization value, if it is low, then only easily we can remove an electron and it easily forms its respective cation. And what about the electron gain enthalpy of electronegative atom? So electron gain enthalpy of electronegative atom must be high, means it must have a greater affinity to receive an electron to its outermost shell. If it easily receives an electron to its outermost shell, means it immediately forms anion. So thereby cation and anion hold together through a electrostatic force of attraction. But here what happens in case of carbon, ionization enthalpy of carbon is very high, means it does not show any tendency to lose electron. So ionization enthalpy of carbon is, since it is very high, it does not show a tendency to lose electron, means it readily does not forms a cation, respective cation. And what must be the electronegativity value for the formation of ionic bond? So the difference between the two combining atoms during the formation of ionic bond, it must be 2. Difference of electronegativity for the two combining atoms during the formation of ionic bond must be 2. But if you take any of the atoms for combining with a carbon, the difference is not at about the 2 electronegativity value between the carbon and any other element. For example, if it forms a bond with hydrogen, what is the electronegativity value of hydrogen? It is 2. So what is the difference of electronegativity? Only 0.5. So when the difference between the electronegativity of the two combining atoms during ionic bond formation, so that difference must be 2. But here we are not getting that difference of electronegativity between the combining atoms, as electronegativity value of carbon is low. So because of this reason, ionization enthalpy of carbon is this much, electronegativity of the carbon is this much, and these values is neither very low value or nor the very high value. Therefore, the carbon does not shows a tendency to lose or gain electron. When carbon does not shows a tendency to lose electron or to gain electron, it does not forms any respective cation and anion, and thereby it only forms a bond through sharing of electron. So by sharing the electron, it forms a bond. Since it shares the electron, the resulting bond will be covalent bond. The resulting bond will be covalent bond. So carbon forms 4 covalent bonds, and covalent bonds are of 2 types. One is sigma bond, another one is pi bond, and these are the reason why the carbon forms only covalent bonds but not the ionic bond. The reason is the ionization enthalpy of carbon is very high and electronegativity of the carbon is low. So it does not satisfy the condition which is required for the formation of ionic bond. So therefore it gives a covalent bond. So now let us move on to the next reason why the number of organic compounds are more compared to that of inorganic compounds. So the next reason is tendency of carbon to form So the next reason, third reason, tendency to form p-pi bond. So tendency of carbon to form p-pi bond means carbon forms p-pi bond. P-pi bond means a pi bond. So not only it forms a sigma bond, carbon also forms pi bond. So this carbon forms double bond and a triple bond with other carbon. So along with the formation of single bond, it also forms double and triple bond with the other carbon atoms. So this is sigma bond, and here when it forms 2 bonds, one is sigma, another one is pi, and if it forms triple bonds, then 3 bonds, then one is sigma and 2 are pi bonds. So the carbon shows a tendency to form p-pi bond, p-pi bond with other carbon atoms. So it forms multiple bonds. So carbon forms multiple bonds. This is the special property of carbon. What do you mean by multiple bond? Double and a triple bond. So because of the formation of this double and a triple bond, so we already classify the organic compounds as saturated compounds and unsaturated compounds. We have alkanes, alkenes and alkynes. In alkanes, we can find only sigma bond, single bond between the carbon atoms. In alkenes, we can find double bond between the carbon atoms. In alkynes, we can find triple bond between the carbon atoms. So double and triple bonds are called multiple bond. Since it forms multiple bonds with the carbon atoms, it shows a greater tendency to form p-pi bond. So more than one bond between the carbon atoms means it must be pi bond, because carbon can form only one sigma bond with another carbon atom. It forms only one sigma bond with another carbon atom. Okay. Now, so not only it forms multiple bonds with the other carbon atoms, but it also forms multiple bonds with other elements, say nitrogen, and it forms multiple bond with oxygen also. So this is the special property of the carbon. No other elements can form this type of multiple bonds with the same atom and also with the other elements. So carbon forms multiple bonds not only with the carbon atom, it also forms multiple bond with nitrogen and also oxygen. So with the nitrogen it forms a triple bond, and with the nitrogen it also forms what? double bond. Double bond formation takes place and triple bond formation takes place with nitrogen. In some compounds even we can find double bond between carbon and nitrogen, and in case of the class of compounds, say cyanides, in cyanides we can find triple bond between the nitrogen. So when a class of compounds are classified as cyanides, means there must be carbon to nitrogen triple bond. So since it forms triple bond with the nitrogen, we have one class of compound called cyanides. And in some compounds, imides also we can see, and in organic compounds where we can find carbon to nitrogen double bond, and such type of compounds are mainly used in the manufacture of dyes. Okay, in the manufacture of dyes we have a compound where we can find carbon to nitrogen double bond. And one more special property, it also forms double bond with oxygen. It is also a multiple bond, one is pi bond, another one is sigma bond. It forms double bond with the oxygen, and this formation of carbon to oxygen double bond results in the classification of organic compounds into many categories, because this group is present in aldehydes, ketones, carboxylic acids, esters, acid amides, acid halides, acid anhydrates, all class of organic compounds containing carbon to oxygen double bond. So that is the importance of the carbon, where it shows a tendency to form p pi bond. So therefore the number of organic compounds are more compared to that of inorganic compounds. So the third reason is tendency to form p pi bond, that is it forms a multiple bonds with other carbon atoms and also with the elements, say nitrogen and also oxygen. Now even it forms a multiple bond with sulfur also. So with sulfur also it forms the multiple bond, that is double bond with the sulfur also. So the less class of compounds where we can find carbon to sulfur double bond. Okay, now thiourea that you heard, in which you can find a multiple bond. So with thioalcohols, carbon to sulfur double bond we can find. Now the fourth reason that we can give why the number of organic compounds are far exceed the total number of inorganic compound. So the fourth reason here is that there are four types of carbon atoms, in organic compounds. So types of carbon atoms in organic compounds. How many types of carbon atoms that we can find in organic compounds? So we can find four types of carbon atoms. We can find four types of carbon atoms in organic compounds. What are those? So let me give. See here. So this is a carbon which is bonded to one other carbon, then this carbon is called primary carbon, and it is denoted by 1 degree carbon. Now this is the carbon, this carbon is bonded to two other carbon atoms, then it is called secondary carbon. Then that carbon is called secondary carbon. You can denote it as 2 degree carbon. Now consider this carbon. So this carbon is attached to 3 other carbon atoms. 1, 2, 3. So the carbon must be attached to one other carbon atom, not to other elements. To one other carbon atom, then it is primary. The carbon which is bonded to 2 other carbon atoms, then it is secondary. If carbon is bonded to 3 other carbon atoms, 1, 2 and 3, then it is called tertiary carbon, that is 3 degree carbon. And the last one, that is this carbon is bonded to 4 other carbon atoms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 other carbon atoms, then it is called quaternary. Quaternary carbon. That is 4-degree carbon. Quaternary carbon, 4-degree carbon. So there are 4 types of carbon that we can find in organic compounds: primary carbon, secondary carbon, tertiary carbon, and quaternary carbon. What is primary carbon? A carbon atom bonded to one other carbon atom is called primary carbon. What is secondary carbon? The carbon atom which is attached to 2 other carbon atoms is called secondary carbon, and a carbon which is attached to 3 other carbon atoms, then it is called tertiary carbon. A carbon which is attached to 4 other carbon atoms, then it is called quaternary carbon. Quaternary carbon. So here in case of alkanes we can find all the 4 types of carbon atoms: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. But in other class of compounds, say alcohols or the aldehydes or the haloalkanes, where we can find primary, secondary, and the tertiary. And the classification of those class of compounds also depends on the nature of the carbon. We can classify alcohols into primary, secondary, and tertiary alcohols on the basis of nature of the carbon, whether the carbon is primary or secondary or the tertiary to which the OH group is attached. So like that, so we can give the 4 types of carbon atoms in organic compounds. In alkanes we can find all the 4 types. But in other class of compounds we can find only primary, secondary, and the tertiary, because one of the valencies of the carbon is already satisfied by other substituent. ಬೇರೆ ಒಂದು functional group ಗೆ already bond ಮಾಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, so we can find only primary, secondary, and tertiary carbon atoms in other class of organic compounds. Okay, now let us find out the type of carbon atom in a given molecule. Let me give the compounds. First one, give the type of carbon atom in a given molecules. First one is ethane I took. Second one, CH3, CH3, CH3. Now third one, CH3, CCH3, CH3, CH3. Fourth one, CH3, CH3, OH. CH3, CH3, CH2, OH. CH3, CCH3, CH3, Br. Like this we can write the organic compounds. We can write the organic compounds like this. It has its own name. So it is ethane, and it is 1, 2, 3, 2-methyl propane. And the common name isobutane, that you studied in your 10th standard. Isobutane, N-butane, isobutane, that is chain isomers, and this is called neopentane. Neopentane, and this is isopropyl alcohol. And this is isobutyl alcohol. And this is tertiary butyl bromide. And this is IUPAC name. Just you don't know about the IUPAC name, just you take it as a common name only, isobutane. Okay, now in these compounds, don't worry about the names, just you find out the nature of the carbon atoms present in these compounds. the type of carbon atom present in these compounds. Two carbon atoms we have. This carbon is bonded to one carbon. This carbon is also bonded to one carbon. Therefore, both the carbon atoms are here primary. Both the carbon atoms are primary. Now, here we have four carbon atoms. This is a carbon which is bonded to one carbon. Directly it should bond to the carbon. Directly it is bonded to one carbon. Therefore, it is primary. And what about this carbon? This is also primary because it is directly bonded to one carbon. And what about this carbon? This is also primary because it is also bonded to one carbon. But what about this carbon? This carbon is bonded directly to three other carbon atoms. Therefore, it is tertiary. Whenever carbon atom is bonded to three other carbon atoms, then it is tertiary, and these three are primary. Similarly, go through this compound, give me the nature of or the type of the bond here. So these four bonds, look at here, this this carbon is bonded to one carbon, therefore it is primary. This carbon is bonded to this only one carbon directly, therefore this is also primary. This carbon is bonded to only one carbon directly, therefore this is also primary, that is 1 degree carbon. This carbon is also bonded to only one carbon, therefore this is also 1 degree carbon. So all the four carbon atoms around this carbon is primary or the 1 degree. What about this carbon? This carbon is bonded to four other carbon atoms. Whenever a carbon atom is attached to four other carbon atoms, then the carbon will be quaternary carbon. 4 degree carbon or the quaternary carbon. This type of carbon that we can find only in alkanes. Only in alkanes. Now let us move on to isopropyl alcohol. Now what is this carbon? 3 carbon atoms are there. This is primary because it is bonded directly to one carbon. This is also primary. But what about this? This is bonded to two other carbon atoms. Therefore, it is secondary. So, this is primary, and this is secondary carbon. Now, here in isobutyl, this carbon, this carbon, this carbon and this carbon. This is primary and this is primary, this is primary. Why it is primary? Because this carbon is bonded directly to only one other carbon. So it may bonded to oxygen or any other elements, but it is the primary carbon want to say is it must be bonded to other carbon only. So it is bonded to only one other carbon, hence it is 1 degree, 1 degree carbon, 1 degree carbon. What about this carbon? It is bonded to three other carbon atoms, hence it is tertiary. So tertiary carbon. Now what about these carbon atoms? This is primary, 1 degree, this is also 1 degree carbon, and this is also 1 degree carbon. So this is 1 degree carbon, 1 degree carbon, 1 degree carbon. What about this carbon? 3 degree carbon. Tertiary, because it is bonded to three other carbon atoms, hence this carbon is tertiary carbon. Okay, so therefore it is tertiary butyl bromide. So this is one of the reasons where the number of organic compounds are far exceed the total number of inorganic compounds. Now what about the strength of these covalent bonds? So the strength of carbon to carbon is the carbon to carbon bond are very strong bonds, and even compared to that of carbon to hydrogen bond, carbon to carbon bond is strong. Means it does not easily undergo cleavage during a reaction. At ordinary condition, it does not undergo cleavage because the bond dissociation enthalpy of carbon to carbon bond is 347.8 kilojoules per mole. So on the basis of bond enthalpy, I can say, so the carbon to carbon strength of bonds in organic compounds, mainly we can find carbon to carbon bond. So to cleave this bond, how much of energy is required? 347.8 kilojoules per mole, and this is called bond dissociation enthalpy. Bond dissociation enthalpy. What do you mean by that? The amount of energy which is required to cleave 1 mole of particular type of bond. is called bond dissociation enthalpy. To cleave this bond, it demands 347.8 kilojoules per mole. Means this value is very, very high. At ordinary condition, it is very difficult to cleave the bond. So the breaking of these bonds are very difficult at ordinary condition. During a chemical reaction, so only under drastic condition, high temperature, these bonds undergoes cleavage during a reaction. Therefore, the strength of carbon to carbon bond is more because of this very high bond dissociation enthalpy. 347.8 kilojoules per mole is the bond dissociation enthalpy. This value indicates that so the carbon to carbon bond is strong. Carbon to carbon bond is strong. When the bond is strong, the molecule can exist. When the bond between the atoms is strong means the molecule becomes stable. When the molecule becomes stable means it can exist in the ordinary conditions. So since the bond is strong, it exists, organic compounds exist in ordinary condition because the bond is very strong. Carbon to carbon bond, covalent bond is very strong. And as you know that bond cleavage is endothermic. Endothermic means it absorbs the energy. Bond formation is exothermic, means it involves the liberation of energy. So formation of a bond involves the liberation of energy, whereas bond cleavage, breaking of the bond, involves absorption of energy. Therefore, bond cleavage is endothermic, bond formation is exothermic. So this is about the strength of the bonds in organic compounds. So the bonds are also strong, therefore they are more stable and they exist. Okay, now let us move on to, as I said, carbon forms two types of covalent bonds. One is pi bond, another one is sigma bond. Let me give the characteristic properties of pi bond. So as I said, covalent bond formed by carbon are of two types. One is sigma bond, another one is pi bond. And remember, sigma bond is strong, pi bond is weak. So sigma bond is strong and pi bond is weak. So before going to that, the formation of these covalent bonds. So two types, one is sigma, another one is pi bond. Valence bond theory. Valence bond theory explains the formation of covalent bonds. Formation of covalent bonds can be explained on the basis of valence bond theory. Formation of sigma bond and pi bond can be explained on the basis of valence bond theory. According to valence bond theory, covalent bonds are formed by the overlapping of atomic orbitals. And these atomic orbitals must be half filled. It must be half filled. So, according to valence bond theory, this point is very important. We cannot explain the complete valence bond theory. Illi namage valence bond theory complete explain madakagala. Yakandre ನಿಮ್ಮ 4th unit chemical bonding alli ಓದ್ತೀರಾ. What are the postulates of valence bond theory? Just I will give few points here. So, covalent bonds are formed by the overlapping of atomic orbitals. What type of atomic orbitals? Half-filled atomic orbitals which are present in the outermost shell. So, the atomic orbitals which are half-filled, which are present in the outermost shell can undergo overlapping during the formation of a covalent bond. So, covalent bonds are formed by the overlapping. Overlapping means the partial merging of the atomic orbitals takes place during the formation of covalent bonds. So, covalent bonds are formed by the overlapping of atomic orbitals. What type of atomic orbitals? Half-filled atomic orbitals. So, depending on the nature of the orbital, maybe s orbital or the p orbital. In case of carbon, S and p orbitals undergo overlapping during the formation of sigma and pi bond. So during the formation of sigma and pi bond, S and p orbitals present in a outermost shell present in the S and p orbitals present in the outermost shell of carbon undergoes overlapping. Okay, now S orbital is spherical shape and p orbital is dumbbell shape. So because of that reason, the S orbital and the p orbital both can give sigma bond. Both can give sigma bond, whereas the p orbital can give sigma bond and also pi bond. It gives sigma and pi bond, but S orbital does not form pi bond. So S orbital can give sigma bond, but p orbital can give sigma and also pi bond. So the formation of covalent bond takes place by the overlapping of atomic orbitals, and the overlapping of atomic orbitals takes place in two ways. One is axial overlapping, another one is sideways overlapping. Remember these two words. The covalent bonds are formed by the merging of atomic orbitals. Merging means overlapping. Formed by the overlapping of atomic orbitals, and overlapping of atomic orbitals are in two ways. One is axial overlapping, direct overlapping along the axis. Second one is sideways. In a sideways, the atomic orbitals undergoes overlapping. So when the axial overlapping of the atomic orbitals takes place, then it results in the formation of sigma bond. Sigma bond formation always takes place by the axial overlapping of the atomic orbitals. Direct overlapping along the axis. Along the axis, if the overlapping of the atomic orbitals takes place, then you can say the resulting bond is sigma. Whereas when a sideways overlapping takes place, sideways overlapping of the atomic orbitals takes place, then that results in the formation of a pi bond. Then what type of orbital can undergo sideways overlapping? Already I said S orbital present in a carbon gives sigma bond, and it also contains a p orbital. P orbital can form both sigma and a pi bond. Then what type of orbital can undergo sideways overlapping to give pi bond? Definitely p orbitals. Only p orbitals can undergo sideways overlapping, but not the but not the S orbital. Like the S orbital is symmetric in nature. No orientation for S orbital, but there is a orientation in a p orbital, px, py and pz. Px, Py and Pz, and sideways overlapping of atomic orbitals also have their own condition. Atomic orbital sideways overlapping ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ conditions ಇದಾವೆ. But what type of orbital undergo sideways overlapping? Definitely p orbital, not the S orbital. Okay, so overlapping of atomic orbitals takes place in two ways. One is axial overlapping, another one is sideways overlapping. Axial overlapping of atomic orbitals results in the formation of sigma covalent bond, and sideways overlapping of atomic orbitals results in the formation of a pi bond. And what type of orbital can undergo sideways overlapping? P orbital present in a carbon can undergo sideways overlapping. Clear? Now let us consider what is the proper difference in the characteristic property of sigma and a pi bond. Mainly we have to consider what is the characteristic properties of pi bond, because carbon forms p pi bond with the carbon and also with other elements. Therefore let us consider the characteristic properties of pi bond here. Now consider the characteristic properties of So this is about the formation of covalent bond according to valence bond theory. According to valence bond theory, the covalent bonds are formed by the overlapping, merging or the penetration of atomic orbitals either along the axis or in a sideways. If the overlapping of the atomic orbitals takes place along the axis, then the resulting bond will be sigma. When the orbitals, atomic orbitals undergoes overlapping in sideways, then or you can also call it as lateral overlapping, then that results in the formation of what? Pi bond. What type of orbitals can undergo sideways overlapping? P orbitals can undergo sideways overlapping. Now, let me continue the characteristic properties of pi bond in the next class. Thank you.